Okay. Anything else?
If you don't understand it, you can know how to train it.
Yes. What if a client comes to you and they say, I want to be more conditioned. I want to improve my fitness. They'll say things like, what do they say? They'll say things like, I'm gassing out in the third and fourth quarter, I'm getting tired, and I want to improve that. Like, what do you do? We've got to have answers to those questions. I'm going to build answers to those questions now. So let's first go here. There's a lot of names for this second system. Do you guys know another name for this?
Glycolytic.
Yeah, anaerobic, glycolytic. We should know the different names. Aerobic. Cool. Very simple. You all know that. What order do I want to give you this in? Duration. Question. Which one is on right now? Or not on. No, you know what? Which one is on right now?
All of them.
Good. Trick question. Good. And which one is on predominantly right now?
Aerobic.
Do we agree? Do we disagree? Okay, we agree. He's correct. Do you know why that is?
Because we've got low energy requirements, and aerobic provides the lowest level of energy, but it can produce it for a long time. It's more sustainable. I don't know what it is.
The lowest level of energy. So be careful of that. Would we rephrase that in any other way?
I'd say like because
Lowest rate
our
of energy production.
That's a little bit better. Yeah. There you go.
oxygen supply is better than our demand. We don't require.
We don't require as much.
Yeah.
Let's go. The rate at which it creates energy is what? Relative to the others.
Slow.
Yeah, it is slow. Like it's very intensive and takes a longer, more complicated process to create ATP from this predominant fuel source, which is?
Oxygen. I mean, no, what? Glucose.
Oxygen is used. What is the predominant
Glucose.
fuel source? Do we?
Oh, no, not glucose.
Very
It's fats, yeah.
And the same thing about, you know how all the energy systems are on? I'll show you guys a diagram soon. You guys are going to learn that actually not all the, it's the same thing. You know, we think just one substrate is being used. It's actually multiple. So when you say people, I want to burn fat when I exercise, right? Well, it's pretty important to know, helpful to know which energy system favors one substrate or another. It actually is both. It uses fat and carbs and glucose. Say glucose. You know this is obvious. The rate is slow. So what about over here? The rate has to be what?
Very fast.
Yeah. Fast. Okay. Actually, you know what? Let's keep our thinking here. What's another category that I need to give you?
Duration.
Yeah, duration. Yeah, just the basic one. Yeah, thanks a lot. When does this energy system become a predominant factor? Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Intensity.
What about it?
How intensely you working?
As a new category?
Yeah. Not in duration. Yeah, in category.
So how intense, like, okay, Let me just give duration here. 3 minutes.
So if
like,
you're walking or
like
sprinting,
2 to 3 plus, this becomes a predominant. Yeah, because now we need intensity.
yeah,
So what's the general intensity?
low.
Low to moderate?
Yeah, I say low to moderate. Yeah. And you can typically see it's going to sit somewhere maybe, well, all the way up to like 0% to 65-ish% of your VO2 max. What's VO2 max? I've asked you this question a lot. You've heard me ask this question so many times. Before Lockie answers or Casey answers, do we have
It's like the maximum rate of oxygen intake. It's the maximum basically.
did you guys say that? Did you say that?
The maximum amount of oxygen your body can take. Is that right?
So very, you know, VO2 max test. Anybody ever done a VO2 max test where they put the? You have?
Yeah.
Oh, you too have.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I know. Okay, cool. What did you guys do? What did
I
they do?
didn't personally do it, but we did it for uni.
Oh, right.
But like we had just had someone on the, I think we had it on the bike,
Mm-hmm.
and you had the thing that measures oxygen and carbon dioxide out,
Mm-hmm.
and like measures the heart rate, and we did like measuring glucose levels.
What is a good bandwidth for a high level athlete?
Yeah, absolutely. I did it in high school one time. We had a sports scientist come down and do it, and it was great because you get to learn about how fit you are. So your VO2 max is measured in liters, and the amount of oxygen that you can uptake and utilize. And the most conditioned athletes have the best VO2 max. Who do we think the best conditioned athletes in the world are? What sports do they usually play?
Cross country skiing.
Yes. Good one. Absolutely.
Ironman.
Yep. I need to double check how far marathon is.
It's like just over 2 hours.
No, not the duration, the actual whether their VO2 max is. But definitely like cross keys. Here we go. Lockie's obviously. Oh, that's not good.
I was still drunk. I was like, shit, I can't see it.
What did you say?
I was still drunk. I was like, fuck, I can't see it.
Yeah, maybe you are. Hey, and now you go.
That's literally how I was looking at it before I went, oh god, no.
Okay, cool. This is great. This is much better. 83. Do you guys have any concept of this number? You know, okay.
That's a lot. No.
Hey?
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Yes.
It's a lot.
Yes. No. Yes, it is. Correct. Just so you know, the average person is not even on this scale. The average person would probably sit between, like a sedentary person might sit at like 20 to 30. Like someone who trains might sit, you know, a little bit higher in the 40s. Someone who's like generally fit, you know, 40s to 50s, like is pretty fit and consistently trains, like 40 to 50. And then from there, you just get to, you know, there's levels.
Cricket. I
Yeah,
want
what
that
is
to be
cricket doing?
I've got to see the source of this. You're going to see different sources, but like you said, triathlon, cross country skier, they have gotten so good at this based off the sheer demands and volume of their conditioning is just through the roof. Like at some point, if you just do Goggins' level of volume and conditioning, yeah, when do we go? Goggins is probably up here.
Yeah,
It's just
100. He doesn't have one, it's just too high.
Goggles level.
Goggins. Do you know David Goggins?
Wow.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll go and learn.
do a
That'll be the
Goggins
next
class.
class.
You know that.
I'll get Goggins to come in.
Oh.
So elite running, cycling, okay, cool. You guys are going to want to push your athletes and your clients in this direction if they want to become more conditioned and perform at a high level. We do that via here, but here's some reference points. Video I wanted to show you, but I'll show you in a second. How do we train the aerobic system? Give me some examples. Like, what modalities? What's an example of how, like, work-rest ratios, for example, time duration. If you wanted to prescribe an athlete an aerobic training program, how would you do it? What's an example of it?
Probably could go 1-to-1 or less rest. 1-to-1 or like, yeah.
Example?
Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, it's
or
like
like
1 minute rest,
like
like 1
at
minute
the
off.
most, that's what I do. But like then probably less, like 0.5-to-1. I mean 1-to-0.5
Probably
or 2-to-1. Sorry.
depends if you're training power or capacity.
Yeah. Okay, do you want to dive into that a little bit? Can you explain that?
Well, power probably require more rest, so you probably go 0.5-to-1 work to rest ratio for aerobic and less than 0.5 for capacity. But power would be shorter duration.
And can you describe, I want to see if anybody can describe, because it's a different description, like we talk about aerobic power, aerobic like output, or that you were describing. Can you describe the differences for everybody? Because you guys should have covered this in your course a little bit, on capacity.
Not sure how to sort of explain it.
Aerobic, like I'm having a guess here because I haven't taken a course thing for it, but would aerobic power be like sort of how high in the aerobic system you can get up to? I mean, capacity,
It's like
it's just
how long you can tolerate it for.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice kind of description. You guys can see power capacity. So that's kind of a nice way to do it. Where Lockie was explaining where it's like how much power can we generate? How much total output can we create? And then capacity is the idea of how long can we tolerate this while maybe the power output is a little bit decreased, while the capacity is how long we can tolerate this alactic system. So when you write programs, when you train yourself, when you're going for a sprint, is this 9 seconds? Or let's go a 50-meter sprint. Like we're going to stay right here. 50 meters all out sprint. And we can sit somewhere in between here for power. 1 to 10 work rest ratio, plenty of rest. Where capacity, suddenly we decrease the rest, like cut it in half almost. Duration increases a little bit, but the total output, the total intensity will decrease in order to accommodate for going longer. Still alactic, but gives you an idea of like, oh, within these systems are like subcategories. And not many people really describe it like this, but it gives you guys an idea, and you guys can see, this is in your course, this diagram, if you remember it. As Andy was explaining, you guys can now see, okay, there's this duration that we commonly know for all these systems, but now there's durations for different subcategories of them, whether we want to just fully max them out, or whether we want to improve their capacity, improve your tolerance for their system. So when you write a program, you can literally take these ratios right here. And now with the aerobic system that Lockie you were talking about, like, don't forget guys, like sometimes there is no work rest ratio for an aerobic system. It's like to 0 because you're just going, that's it. Low intensity, steady state cardio, LIS. So you're just going for that single bout of conditioning, 20, 30, 45 minutes, 60 minutes, etc. That would be capacity. So this is how it gives you an idea of, oh, how do I program this? It's a bit complex. This is how you can program. All right. Through complex metabolic metabolic pathways, we get 32 ATP molecules. Okay. Cool. That's actually quite a lot, but the processing rate of it is slow. This is like how much we get from it. Like, how much did our ingredients give us in cake? We want a lot of cake, because the cake fuels us, right? But we need a lot of ingredients, and it takes a long time to cook this cake because it's very slow, but it gives us a big fat ass cake. So you want to make your cake, you want to, I like analogies, I hope they connect, because do you want a big cake that takes a long time to make and takes a lot of resources? Or you want a really quick cake, but it's really small, like a cupcake, right? Guess how much ATP molecules, let's see if I can remember this, that the ATP PC system makes per reaction, if you will.
36 or something, is
Less than 10.
Yes, it is less than 10.
I don't know the exact
Yeah,
number.
it's not-
Definitely not
it might be
36.
less than-
That's okay.
Or 8 or something.
Oh, actually, I think you're right. I think it is 4.
Two to four. Pretty sure we're hitting around 2. We're going to double check.
Wait, what's that? That's ATP. Then
Hey, yeah, how many molecules of energy are being made to like fuel your system as a result of the ATP PC system, which uses what's its fuel source? This is where like creatine comes in handy. Yes, phosphocreatine. PC, phosphocreatine. Creatine. Okay, creatine, huh? Like what's one supplement that we can give athletes we have the most confidence of over almost any supplement?
Quitting.
So the anybody take creatine? Sorry?
Can I remember?
When I remember. How many grams?
Oh,
Just scoops, because I can do it by scoops too.
like a tablespoon and a bit of like a cup, like an orange juice, just like a carbonated drink.
Cool.
Carb.
It stores phosphate groups to be donated to create ATP. To create ATP. Okay? This is why I just heard about some stupid shit that someone said that creatine doesn't work or it just makes you look bigger, doesn't actually help performance. It's just not right. So not only it draws water into the intracellular space in muscle, so it makes your muscles look and appear bigger, but it also has obviously an ergogenic effect, which means what? Ergogenic. Yeah. Performance enhancing. It just watch out for that term when you see it. If you see an ergogenic supplement or compound, it's like, oh, watch out for that. That's helpful for you as a coach. I can't find my diagram. I wanted. So it draws phosphocreatine in, draws water into the intracellular space inside the muscle to make the muscle look fuller, helps exercise performance, particularly what type of exercise do we think creatine has been found to be most effective in?
Sprints.
That's good, yes. The example is correct, but let's go to the category.
Olympic lifting.
Olympic lifting, so yeah. But why Olympic? Why not weightlifting?
Weightlifting as well.
Yeah, just like,
High intensity,
yes.
low duration.
So the weight training.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, pretty much anything under like that 15, 20 seconds. But, you know, your bodybuilders obviously get dramatic benefit from it as well, just people who weight train. So we can now then use creatine as an amazing, well, as a really useful supplement. Cool. Fuels phosphocreatine, which is part of this creatine. Take creatine. How much? I'd say under 80 kilos, 5 grams, above 80 kilos, you could justify 5 to 10 grams, and then scale that for your giant people who maybe are 150 kilos. Okay.
Can we just go back to that diagram of the energy systems again? Oh, there, that one there, yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to quickly get them
Oh, you haven't seen this yet?
going. No, I have, but it's just like,
You're just like creating your own thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking. Get rid of that. Just so you guys, I don't know if you realize, if you guys have respect for Athletes Authority, like they use this. Like this is how they use, this is the type of template they'll use for their conditioning protocols for their incredible athletes. So just know this is being implemented at the highest level. And then our examples, these are pretty basic examples. We know them, weightlifting, anything short duration. Obviously, duration is short. And then we have this one in the middle, glycolytic, anaerobic glycolysis. Where are we at? Interestingly, what's a byproduct? Like all of these have byproduct of like water, carbon dioxide. What's a particular byproduct of this system that makes it quite painful?
nitric acid.
Metabolic
Metabolic by yeah. Sorry, what was Lockie? What'd you say?
hydrogen.
Yeah, and then what?
I said lactic acid, but hydrogen ions.
Hydrogen ions. Let's just be more specific semantics, but it is correct. We want to say lactate is the correct term. Lactic acid will get transformed, converted to lactate, and then lactate should go to pyruvate to then be used through some more complex biochemical shit, which we don't need to get into, which should then be used for what?
Fuel.
Fuel, baby. Fuel. We go arrow, bang, create more ATP. So, lactate is a byproduct that our body will use to help us create more energy. Now, what does lactate and hydrogen ions do with muscular contractions?
It reduces their effectiveness.
Yeah, the word is inhibit, if we want to get like,
It creates an acidic environment.
yes. Now, we talked about this already. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, we did. I'm not going to write it. Creates an acidic environment, reduces the pH. We become more like a what? A lemon. An acidic lemon.
Become a lemon.
I become a lemon, baby. Always wanted to be a lemon.
We love lemons.
Let me double check this because I take how many how much ATP per glucose molecule does the glycolytic system make? How efficient is it?
Does that make like 16?
No.
Is that the one that's 8 to 10?
Well, look. Either Athletes Authority are wrong or you guys are right. I'm about to find out.
Wait, so is that like that ATP is per molecule of fuel? Is how. So the aerobic system makes 32 ATP molecules. 32 ATP per molecule of fuel. Is that or per molecule of glucose?
Well,
Per
it is.
cycle of.
Yeah, per cycle, it'll use a combination of fat and glucose, but for these ones, where they'll use more glucose, it'll be per molecule of glucose for this one.
Okay.
Now, if athletes' authority are correct, and there's no reason to think they wouldn't be because they're smart people, there's actually 1, and this is actually 2. Now, don't have to remember the numbers. I thought it was more, but I'm going to double check later. But anyway, the point is, this gives you much less energy. That's the point, okay? They give you much less energy, but they're much faster. Anyway, I need to get to the weeds here. Hey, here's a summary that I can give you. You guys can just look at now and take notes on if you would like. So, summary. Oops. Anaerobic glycolysis system. Obviously, for time, we're not going to go through every single thing on the board, but main fuel source, glucose, byproducts, heat, that's why we get hotter, lactate, hydrogen ions. Limiting factor. Limiting factor is the accumulation of hydrogen ions in the muscle. As we know, the rate is faster. I would say it's not as fast as ATP necessarily, but it is fast. 2 ATP molecules, like we said. Practical, short, explosive. Not maximal, but close to maximal, 70 to 90%. And anybody do 400-meter sprints before?
No,
Yeah.
not for.
Oh, you guys got to try them. They're terrible. They're very
What's
painful.
that? 400 meter sprints.
Yeah, it's like that's when you know, oh, I've got a glycolytic system. Oh, you'll feel it. But later today, we'll actually go through some practicals and you guys
200 is bad enough.
Hey?
200 is bad enough.
Yeah, that gets you, so that gets you definitely into more of that.
Mate, 100 is bad enough.
Wait, 70 good.
Let's drop that down. That gets you into that glycolytic system.
10 minute 8 switch is bad.
Aerobic,
Too much.
oxidative, what does that mean? Why is it called the aerobic?
Because it uses oxygen.
Uses oxygen in chemical reactions to make energy, yes. It's fuel is a combination of fats and carbs, and if you're starving, eventually protein. Byproducts. Can we read that? Do we know what that is?
Carbon dioxide.
Yeah, cool. Just checking. CO2. Limiting factor. The carbs you would take. Can we see now why a marathon runner or why a long distance athlete, any athlete actually doing work over 90 minutes plus, CrossFit, would start using intra-carbohydrate food to support their performance? Because if carbs is a limiting factor and you can drain a couple of 100 grams of your stored glycogen in a few hours.
Yeah, is there like a specific rate that you like train your carbohydrates at, I guess?
There is, but it's going to be so dependent on your intensity, your duration,
Yeah.
your VO2 max, and how adapted you are to utilizing glucose or fatty acids.
Is that like over the period of weeks, months, or like days? Like carb loading and
Oh, like can I use all my stored glycogen? Like how long does it take? Oh, you can do that in hours.
oh, okay.
If you're training consistently to high intensity,
Yeah.
you could do it in a day if you just fasted.
But it would be like roughly, like obviously very rough, but you reckon a couple 100 grams in a couple of hours. I don't want to go down too much route.
Yeah, cool. The bigger just remember, the bigger the person is, the more they have stored.
Yeah. But then would it be the more they have to use?
Exactly too. So that's like it's a trade-off. So that's when you, after just 90 minutes, you can start using 2 hours. You can start using intra glucose, and I'm gonna do a nutrition for I'm gonna answer all this. I'm gonna do the nutrition for performance in catabasis, and then you're gonna get answers to that. Cool.
I wouldn't be mad if you did it, but specific.
Noted. (32 ATP molecules, 2.5 times that for glucose per gram of fatty acid, and then ATP. phosphocreatine, very fast, 1 ATP per phosphocreatine. We know this. Let's see if I can find it. Any questions or comments there while I look for this post? What I'm going to try and find is to demonstrate to you guys, remember all energy systems are on at the same time. We know this.
Yeah.
The next thing we need to know is when are the fuel sources being used? Are they all used at the same time? Like when is which one being used more than the other? And I have a really nice diagram I wanted to show you. Hopefully I didn't skip over.
It likes to use glucose first, and then fats and then protein.
Say again?
Does it like to use glucose first and then fats and then
So
protein?
not necessarily, it depends on the percentage of VO2 max. It depends on the intensity of which you're working at. And that's what I want to show you guys. You guys can have this diagram and then, I think I passed it. You can have this diagram.
You make good clickbait faces.
It's been,
Should you trust him? No. That's the idiot.
it's done. Yeah, just like, you want people to click on your shit, right? Yes, it's good content.
We go on the one of you tanning naked, asking for it.
That, look, that is my only thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's a secret link to your OnlyFans.
Here it is. Oh, this one, this face? That what you're laughing at? Well, it worked. That's it. I'm trying to make a point,
I love
so
it. No, it's good. I love it.
you know. I hate the play, I hate the game. No. Go to YouTube because I can get it bigger. Bear with me, guys. I hope this should be interesting enough to warrant finding it. Here, do we use carbs or fat during exercise?
Yes.
Yes, that's the answer. It's an 8-minute video. We're not going to watch the full 8 minutes.
There seems to be this.
Okay, but I just want to show you the diagram. Okay, look at this diagram.
There seems to.
Okay, ignore him and look at this. This is substrate requirements used during exercise. Do we use glycogen in the blue? Glucose, which is just around our bloodstream in the orange. So the blue and orange are the same. They're like, think of it as sugar. Down here is fat. Fat floating around our bloodstream and then fat stored in our muscle. Along here is percentage of VO2 max. It's how hard you're working. And here is how much. So, this right here, 25% VO2 max, it's not just us doing right now. It's like us just kind of moving and talking. What do we use the most?
Free fatty acids. That's not free fatty.
We still use glucose though. It's just a very small amount. It's like 10%. As we increase in VO2 max, as we increase intensity, what happens?
Just like to use more sugars.
And what is the split? What's the distribution there of, let's just split them, from glucose to fatty acids and triglycerides?
In the middle one,
Uh-huh.
50-50.
Yeah. This is 65% of VO2 max, which you could call it like moderate intensity physical activity. And now during moderate intensity, like, oh, I want to burn fat, right? Okay. You can start to use that to help people make that decision. Not that exercise, I think, not that exercise is a good tool to use to burn fat. That's another conversation. But then here at the end, 85% like plus, what is being used as a predominant fuel source? You're working pretty hard now.
Muscle glycogen. And one.
Yeah.
Muscle glycogen.
Yeah, cool. I just want you guys to be able to read it. Muscle glycogen. A lot of, like, muscle glycogen, plasma glucose, how much? That's like, what percentage is that?
75.
Yeah, like 75 to 80 of like the whole, of total is being used out of available substrates. So do we see now how glycogen can be depleted through our muscle and liver, which we may only have a few hours of high intensity activity to really use? We can see how supplementing with fuel intra-session is important, and the demands of your activity and the intensity will determine how much is used, just like energy systems. That's what I want you guys to be able to understand. It's very similar. It's like we're using everything all at once. Oh, I'm using fat right now. You're using predominantly, but you're also using some glucose. And as you continue higher up, you will use preferentially more glycogen and glucose. What's the difference? I don't think you guys should answer because you know the difference. Like in nutrition.
Stored version.
Oh, you do nutrition as well? Oh, I forget. Sorry, go ahead. What is it?
Glycogen is the stored version of glucose.
Yeah. Very good.
That's how the body stores it.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you shirtless?
Good question.
Like, isn't it just alpha and Look at this.
It would be as simple as this.
Big bang.
I was no. I'm not doing carnivore MD. I'm not doing. It would be as simple as this because I've been. That's how I was around the day in the house. Just it was hot. That's how I am.
You got traps like that, why would you?
It ain't nothing. Give me another year. I hope it doesn't distract from the actual message.
All or nothing. It's like music glucose and music fatty acid. No,
I'm not that good.
You're using them all the time.
Okay, hold on.
It's like all or nothing. It's like I'm using glucose, I'm using fatty acid. No, motherfucker, you're using them all the time. It's just different ratios, just like energy systems. It's not one on, one off. You're using all three energy systems: ATP, anaerobic glycolysis, and aerobic system. It's just a relative proportion that is changing. Which is the beautiful thing, adaptive.
All right, that's enough. You're done.
So, but then when people say like,
And there's another diagram.
when people say like, I want to like I want to be in like the fat burning state, the fat burning like
Yeah.
thing, like
Yeah, that's a thing. Yes, you are expending more. You're utilizing more fat at that time.
Yeah.
Yes.
but
That
it
doesn't
doesn't lead to fat loss.
No, it doesn't determine. Like that's irrelevant
Yeah.
because you can still be in a surplus and still gain weight or not lose weight.
Yeah.
Your total energy intake or output determines
So you're not
your
you're not
weight
losing
loss.
fat. You're just using
You're utilizing fat predominantly,
yeah.
but your net fat loss at the end of the day or the week will be
Would be the same
determined.
if you did the same at a higher intensity. If you burn, okay,
If the calories are equated.
yeah,
The calories are the same.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
yeah.
The calories are equated. There doesn't seem to be strong evidence that it matters the type of exercise and activity that you do. Whether you want to do steady state low intensity runs or you want to weight train. What matters the most is thermodynamics, energy in, energy out. Do you want the heater on?
I'm cold.
Is anyone else?
Yeah.
It keeps you awake. Thanks, Minna.
You're being cold?
Is that an aircon?
But it also can. It's both split system probably.
We're like 20, not 25, because then we'll probably go to sleep.
Yeah,
We'll
this
have
is
a little nap.
There's a balance. That's why I gotta be careful. No, do you mind
I've never
making?
used it.
Oh, okay. Well,
Earn your paycheck.
figure it out.
Sort of that.
Anyway, same thing here. As duration goes on, you can see more fatty acids are being used. This just tells you how you should fuel when you're doing long intensity activity. You, Mr. Ironman, yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Ironman, triathlete. this is important for you to know. It's important for any athlete who is training over 1 hour. You should understand this, because then you give them information on how to fuel. Now, the body will use more and more fatty acids because it's running out of glucose and glycogen. But we know that this is a really inefficient process. And you know when athletes hit the wall, they bonk? Everybody heard of that? Well, it's hypothesized they bonk because it's the point of transition between using glucose and then going to predominantly fat as a fuel source. From here to here.
Also, they're not completely depleted, but they have to stop. It's just they're changing fuel sources, and so if they kept going, they would be able to keep going. Like if they went through that, I don't know what the bonk is. I'm assuming that's.
It's a point of just hitting the wall.
Yeah.
You just can't move, or it's hard to move more. You just
But you can't. It's not making you like stop your exercise completely. I remember last year how you showed us a video of the sprinter who got to end, or the marathon runner who got to end, and like other people had to hold him up.
No, yeah, that's
not.
no, that's not it.
Okay.
That's probably like rhabdomyolysis, like his muscles eating itself and causing like toxins to be released.
Yeah. It's just transitioning
Huh?
fuel sources.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Possibly.
Yeah.
That's what we potentially think. And it's very physically hard.
Yeah.
So this transition may be something along the lines of this. We can ameliorate this, we can reduce this by
Fuel.
just fuel. But how do you know to fuel if you don't even know like this process? Like when do you need to, I would think like I've started doing it for my weight training sessions that could go up to 2 hours. One, because I have more calories to eat. 2, because they're very high intensity. So I've actually started halfway through my session of the high intensity sessions, I've started putting in some 10, 15 grams of glucose. It'll improve my hydration. If you guys have seen my hydration free seminar thing on YouTube, it'll improve my hydration and might probably have some moderate to small effect on my performance. And you guys should think about that for your athletes who are in here for 2-3 hours, or their competition game days going half time. You have 4 hours or something. Like an NBA game is 3-4 hours, including like the halftime break, the quarter time break. Like a football game, you'll be at the game from the time of warm up. No, not even the time of warm up, which is when your activity starts, to the end of the game. Do we think about how long that takes? It's not just the game, you know? Are we not using anything when we're warming up?
That doesn't count.
Nah, we haven't started. Yes, you are.
Today I fell half hour per quarter. Is that right?
I can't remember.
I feel like they
Like-
go forever. Like coming
What's
to New
that?
South Wales and watching like Union and League, and then come moving here, and then, like the games just feel like they went on for the end of lifetime.
I would say from the start of the warm up to the end of the
So
game, it would be about 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's that diagram. It's like we're using predominantly fatty acid.
So why does
Oh, you put it in there.
yeah?
Legend. You got
I've
that
got it
from
in my
notes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well done.
How does why does muscle triglycerides decrease and plasma-free fatty acids increase? I thought it'd be the other way around, as
Oh yeah.
because plasma-free fatty acids, surely they would be more readily available.
So I don't have an answer to this. I just only have a theory. I think maybe maybe you guys have an answer.
So like, if you look at
This.
this diagram, muscle triglycerides are decreasing and plasma-free fatty acids are increasing, but like, which I don't think would make sense, because like, I thought that plasma-free fatty acids would be more readily available. And well then it's the same as blood glucose. Like, why would blood glucose wouldn't that be more readily available?
Consider like this. It's
Well,
being
you say
liberated
blood-
from the muscle. It's likely being liberated from the muscle into the bloodstream.
Yeah.
So the stored triglycerides will decrease and the plasma will increase because it's being taken from here and put in here.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
they didn't explain that, but that's my
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you're right. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah?
Because you're taking it out of the muscle.
So the stuff that you use initially from blood glucose and the plasma FFA is just the stuff that you had in your bloodstream already.
that you have a lot of.
And then
Oh, here you have a lot of muscle glycogen.
and then it's
And then it increases as you go on. Yeah.
It's being broken.
It's all in the chat if you guys want to see it. Okay. Cool. Any last questions or thoughts before we do a little practical? Okay. You guys are going to write one conditioning program for each. Now, we'll get you. We're probably not going to coach aerobic because it's long and boring, but the other two are much more practical.
Would that be inside the gym or just like track or anything?
That we can do in the gym. So whatever we have access to here, but the aerobic you have full freedom. You want to go to a track, you want to do like, I don't know. I'm not going to give you ideas, I want you to do it.
Yeah.
You can choose the modality. But the programs you write here, you have to be able to coach them here. For the ATP glycolytics, you need the equipment, you have ski ergs, you can use weight training, obviously, med balls. Is there a bike?
Yeah, I saw bike, yeah.
That's all right.
Beautiful, you can use that, it's a big one.
Ski, sled machine.
Is it sled?
You guys
Oh, of course it's sled. I thought you meant, sorry.
Sorry, not
roller.
machine, sled.
Of course it's sled.
Pretty much.
It doesn't have to be, oh, okay.
French sports.
Yeah.
Clean jerks.
So let's actually go through, this might be more helpful. Casey, can you write a case study for Lockie, who's a triathlete? I want you to write him ATP and glycolytic program that's specific to him as a triathlete. Max, I want you to write one for Casey based on, give me a conditioning goal that you have.
I'm just strength training at the moment, so.
She's strength training.
Yeah.
She needs conditioning. She wants to recover better between sets. Give her a program that she can think about recovery, and a program she can recover from in the midst of a consistent weight training program. Andy, you need to write Max. You have conditioning goals right now? Do we need to make you one?
Probably the same as Casey's, yeah, strength training.
Same thing. Can you do that for Max? Andy, you're going to write for Manov? Wait, no.
We're not going to write that. My age.
Andy's going to write for Max. I bet. Manov's going to write for Andy. Andy, conditioning goal.
Because for footy, just
Yeah.
Do you play footy now?
nah, because I'm
Oh, you skipped footy for here. Respect.
I thought you were being a smart for a second. No, I thought you were sweet. Like, you're playing footy right now? No, we are. I was like, jeez.
Manov, football, conditioning. Charlotte for Manov.
Soccer. I play soccer.
Okay. So you have the ATP, 3 sessions a week, conditioning for Manov. And then you two need a program, right? You need to write for somebody. You write for.
Casey's writing.
Are you ready? Who are you writing for?
I would be writing for Charlotte.
Charlotte will be writing for Lockie.
No, Casey's writing.
Sorry.
No. Wait.
Probably.
Yeah.
So
So
then if
Am I
I
right
write
with
for
you?
Charlotte, then that's
then that's it. That's
No.
Cool. Lockie's like, right, cool. I wanted to make it a little more specific rather than just write a program.
Just question like how many days? Just one session to how many sessions you want? Or just,
You decide, depends on the goals.
Okay, perfect. That's it.
Yeah.
No, so. Oh, it's there.
Charlotte, conditioning goal for Lockie.
One course half.
Excuse me. Do you have one? Maybe it's fat loss, which is perfectly okay because it can be used as expenditure. Maybe it's
Yeah, I'd say fat loss.
Yeah,
Like
cool.
increase the duration.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like Achilles.
Without doing
So
it.
like it's probably not slow.
Okay.
And then
I think like you know that.
issue. What was that for?
Let's go. Is there anything else that we should mention? There's no sport or anything else? Weight training? Yeah, cool. Lockie, can you please write, even though we said before, a fat loss / supportive conditioning program for her weight training?
Are we going to make do some of this downstairs?
Yes.
I have some
Fair.
injuries.
I'm juniors.
Lower back. Hinge bend.
Cool, we good? Any questions?
No dents.
You guys just spend some time here. Think about this, like
Not even like.
write a template that you can use for when people pay you money. Like, don't just mail in this example right now. Every example and program we write here, think about it like, oh, this is a template that I can use for another case, for another person I'm going to get in the future. So the more thorough you are now, you'll save yourself time in the future. Just wanted to mention.
Just no dead
No.
ends.
Yeah.
You have to think about it.
Somebody else has done that to me.
No,